Hi,
Hi, Tamanna. Finally,
I am really sorry. It's raining really heavily here, so there is a little bit network issue. How are
no worries,
you?
no worries. I am doing good. Actually, the weather is quite pleasant, and I think good time
Yeah,
to take the session also.
yeah. I think Delhi is it's raining heavily, right?
Yeah, it's raining since last night, and it's not stopping. So yeah,
Yeah,
good for people who like
yeah.
to sit inside and watch the view, but not good for people who actually have to travel because there's a lot of waterlog.
Yes, yes. So I will be waiting for 2 to 3 minutes. Let people join, and then we would be starting. So you know that our today's topic is
Sure.
about how to manage mental health at the workplace, and you are somewhere like working in that kind of environment. So how is your experience with that mental health? Like there would be days when you are also struggling with mental health. So how do you work with that?
So So I think like being in this profession now, everybody in this profession definitely acknowledges that people who are taking care of other people's health also can have bad days. So that is normal. But something that people really don't acknowledge so much. But yeah, I think using the same coping mechanisms that we suggest others can definitely help us to just probably cope up with our rainy days. So, it could be something as just reaching out and probably tell people that we are working with that we are not feeling well, or there might be some delay in our work, or you might expect some kind of mood swings. I think as simple as that, building that comfort and just connecting with people and letting them know can be, I think, has worked really well for. And but that also means that the people I work with have been equally supportive. So the organization that I work with primarily for people. So I think something that has worked out for me. So acknowledging myself that I can also have a concern and that is absolutely normal, and then taking immediate course of steps so that I can probably take a break, or I can work at my own pace, or not panic at that moment has really helped me to maintain that balance and probably have some pakoras during the rainy season and eat what I like, definitely helps me. So understanding and then acting to it has really helped me to, cope up with my mental health during these tough times.
Oh, that's great. So, hi everyone. Welcome you all to our today's live session, and you guys, I hope you guys are doing very well. So, Manoshala aims to democratize preventive mental health care solution in India, which not only focuses on clinical therapy, but it also focuses on alternative therapy. I am Tamanna Rajpal hosting today's live session. I am working with Manoshala as a child psychologist. I deal with kids on their behavioral issue and academic issues. So, as we were discussing earlier, our today's topic is how to manage mental health at workplace. Mental health is about how we think, feel, and behave. Anxiety and depression are the most common mental health issues we are facing at these days. They all are often a reaction to a difficult life event, but it can also be caused because of work-related stress. So, our today's speaker is Priyanka Shankar. She is a counseling psychologist and a soft skill trainer by profession. She has also won a gold medal for securing first position in her academics in counseling psychology during her master. First, she thought that psychology is just taken for a choice, but now it is a passion for her. During the COVID, she also worked on an initiative, Soul Heart Mind, SOHEMI, with an objective to encourage more about mental health and holistic well-being. So, hi Priyanka.
Thank you so much for a lovely introduction, Tamanna. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. And I think one thing that you very rightly said is that it was a choice and it was a thoughtful choice, but then it turned out to be my passion. So I feel I absolutely fit here. and would want to learn more with this time, and obviously help everybody, help them gain awareness, considering that there is a lot of stigma and not many people are aware about mental health. And today also we will be discussing a very important topic, that is, I would say somewhere in awareness. Like now everybody knows there is something known as mental health. Everybody knows how workplace maybe it is required, but still, getting a little more deeper to the topic is something I think that this session will be all about today.
Yeah, and I think there have been a lot of people who don't go for psychology in their first preference, but they took it. Like I always had this thing, I don't want to go for humanities. Then I started studying psychology. Then I was like, no, now I don't need any other subject. I want to study psychology and then work accordingly to that.
Hmm.
So I would be starting with the questions now.
Sure.
So according to you, why mental health is so important for us?
Okay. So I think mental health is important because we are using our mind a lot. Like you can say we are overusing it. So I think that is a simple reason why mental health awareness or knowing about mental health is very important. And with this, I'd like to, bring a significant example which also helps us, answering a very important question that people have, that I think a lot. I feel I'm an overthinker. So, like if just quoting one example, so I live with my grandfather and I see him doing a lot of physical activities. Like he's constantly doing some kind of physical activity. That's primarily because the generation he comes from, they were doing physical activities. It could just be simple as traveling from one place to the other. They were either going through bicycles or using public transportation or walking from one place to other. And then the work that they were doing was also required them to use their physical strength a lot. Now, if you see our generation, it takes us like a good 15-minute motivational speech if we want to just go for exercising. So that basically means we are not so much used to, using our physical health more. But now the generation has shifted to using mental health more. It could be you working on the computer, like you don't need to go from one place to other. We all are working from home and doing pretty well. So that means we're constantly using our mind. It could be, just being very creative with your thought process. So I think when people use their mind a lot, times when they're not doing anything, they tend to think, because then it is the process. Like I tell you, my grandfather, he cannot sit idle. He has to do some kind of physical activity. So that same goes with us. We cannot sit idle. Our mind will keep on doing anything. So just not being afraid of that, I think is something why mental health awareness is important in the first place. That we are using our mind a lot. So probably when we are ideal, we'll not just go and start knitting. We'll probably start thinking. So, there is nothing wrong with thinking too much, but yeah, putting it in a right direction is important. And I think that is why we are having a lot of people who are creating mental health awareness more, simply because we use mind more than we use our body now. That's it.
Okay. So, I would want to ask you this also, that you know that before the lockdown, we all used to be there, used to be days where we don't want to work on that office place or we don't want to work at home. So we used to go to CCD or maybe Starbucks or any cafe. We used to go and work there. So right now, because the COVID happened and these things were not there. So can you suggest a few points which we might can create at home? Like we might can create an atmosphere at home where we can work, we can have a workstation or something. Like why, like how we can work on that. So if there's a day I am feeling I know I want to go to CCD and work, but how I can manage that?
I think one thing is very important, that all of us should understand that this pandemic is not what we chose for. It is something that happened to us. So similarly, people who all are working from home, it's not their choice. It's it's probably happened to them. So I think one thing, if you do this and if you understand this, you get at an acceptance stage. So आपको इतना पता लग जाएगा कि आप बाहर तो आप कहीं नहीं जा सकते. That's not an option. The option is, if you really want to work, you can create your own workspace. And I think that also helps you to make a conscious choice. So, like this is something that I always do, no matter, whatever work I have. I try and get up in the morning, get ready for my work. Now, it's not like just because I go out, I have to get ready. It's I am doing something important in my day, I have to be prepared for it, and getting ready is the first step. And then choosing a place that helps you to feel good. Just imagine, it's we know all these stories, right? We are here, the laptop is here, and rest everything is a mess. But just imagine we don't feel motivated. Why do we go to a CCD, or why do we go to a good place? I think nowadays we have started acknowledging aesthetics. So more than the food, we go for aesthetics. So we can also bring those aesthetics in our home place, and create a space where we feel like working. It's eventually, if probably we are cooking and we see the entire kitchen station is all messed up, you won't feel like getting up and cooking. So similarly, if your workstation is messed up, or you're sleeping on the bed, you're not ready, that means you don't feel prepared for the work you're doing, and eventually you will not feel like working. So I think two things here. First is acknowledging and accepting that the things that you used to do probably are something that are not possible now. And then secondly, taking a conscious step and creating that workspace wherever you can. And one thing also that I would like to say, that keep on shifting if possible. So it's like, ultimately you're in the home, you're eating there, sleeping there, taking, but shifting from one place to another can give you a little break. That usually used to happen when we were working from office. Like, we had that proper barrier. When we are going to office, we go to work. When we're coming back, we are probably just resting and not doing work. So that conscious spacing out, I feel, is also important to give you that break. So this is what I do. I don't have lunch at the same place where I'm working, because I need that space away from work. So I think that is something we all can do to probably not feel so burnt out in these situations, which are very hard for everyone.
I am do trying that, getting ready before the work starts. I will start that from Monday. I am very sure about it.
Yeah,
Okay. So our third question is how to prioritize the mental health at work. Like how to make mental health an important thing at work.
okay. So I think I'd like to start that it's a it's a circle. So it's, for example, your mental health is poor or not at par, you'll start feeling that burnout very quickly. And it will affect your ability to work. You'll not feel so productive. You won't enjoy the work you're doing. And eventually, it will impact you and the organization directly or indirectly. You'll probably start feeling, less productive. The absenteeism rate would be high. You will feel that sense of social withdrawal, where you don't want to connect with your peers, because somewhere you feel it's all getting toxic. I think that's a very common word. So eventually it will affect you and the organization both. So I feel it's not just important for an individual to understand that mental health is important, it's also important for the organization to acknowledge this, because in the long run, if this is not dealt with in the right way, it will affect an individual, and it will also affect the organization in both ways. Like, employee absenteeism affects both the organization and individual. It will affect probably creating a bad work culture, which again affects the organization and individual. Your productivity is reduced, you're feeling more pressurized. So I think this works on an equal way, where you feel it's important and the organization feels it's important. Otherwise, this circle is a continuous circle, and it might lead to a stage where coming back becomes very difficult. So understanding and acknowledging it in advance is important and helpful, rather than, just like we say, precaution is better than cure. Going to a cure stage, where at an organization level, it's even more difficult to correct the problem.
Yeah. So, as you know that maybe after COVID, like once the COVID is finished, it might not get finished, but people will have a kind of a mental health like people will start hiring a mental health therapist or a psychologist to have in the organization.
Hmm.
But before that, there are a lot of people, lot of organizations who don't have a mental health therapist or a psychologist who can take care of the mental health of the employees. So how we can talk about mental health at the workplace?
Hmm. I think it's a very interesting question, because you rightly said that some people do have, you can say, employee assistance program, or they have in-house counselor which are helping individual to deal with such kind of concern. But not every organization will opt for it immediately after COVID gets over. So I think this works on three levels. So the first is on an organization level, even if you don't have a counselor, you can build more employee-centric policies and procedures. So I think building those policies and procedures would require you to first take a feedback as to what is probably not employee-centric, what is employee-centric, what can be changed. I would say if there are 100 people giving 100 suggestions, applying all the 100 is not possible. But yeah, definitely the most common ones can be implemented in the policies and the procedures because that will directly impact all the 100 people or more people. Then the second stage comes at a managerial position, which I feel is the most important part that, like people connect with or interact with their managers on a more frequent level. That is where from they get the work, the targets, and all the direct connection, the mentoring, the leadership also. So I think the managers acknowledging this is also very important, and just keeping a health check. And for this, I feel you need to be very individualistic with your approach. For example, you give the same targets to two people, and probably one person is living on their own. They don't have anybody else living with themselves. The other person is living with a family. So you see, their situation is very different. So the way you have to deal with them will also be very different. So at a managerial role, I feel it's the most important, where you understand that people are different. They might have different concerns. They might have different approaches to work. And then you help them resolve them accordingly and not treating everyone equally just because you've given them the same roles. And then the third becomes at an individual level, where you're also taking care of yourself, but also taking care of the people you work with. So just keeping a regular pulse check can be helpful. And you can, just take care of people, ask how are they doing, if they need any help. And also, like I think something that I started with, acknowledging that you need help. So we're probably just, giving help to everyone, but feeling irrelevant when it comes to us. That is not how you
Yeah.
approach a problem. So I think these are the
Yes.
three steps. If you do, even if you don't have a counselor, I think it can be very effective.
Okay. So, you know that during while like we had put up a post and we had asked our audience also if they want to ask any question. So one of the questions from the audience was what steps any organization can take to maintain the mental health of their employees? Like what steps they can basically take.
So I think first is I think acknowledging that people are not overworked. I think like I said, people considering they are working from home, the situation could be different. So creating work from home policies that are more, I would say, helping them to balance their work and life. I think that is one thing. Understanding that people, it is always the case where few people are overworked and few people are underworked. So creating that balance, I think, is important. Understanding the main issues, I think one of the main issues that people feel when they're working from home is could be job security. So, addressing this topic, so addressing all the important topics that people don't talk about can be very helpful. Creating, I think, creating probably having virtual, you can say yoga sessions or recreational sessions can also be helpful. And, you can say that probably connecting with people on a one-to-one level can be helpful, something that we're not doing. Having fun sessions also. It's not always about work. It's about having fun sessions as well. And I think one thing that I said, creating those policies and procedures is very important because sometimes what happens, you can do all these things, yet you feel nothing is working out. That is because on the grassroots level, your values and policies are not aligning with all these things. So I think these are some quick steps that an organization can do, just to ensure that employees' well-being is maintained even when they are working from home.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. And so, like, I want to like add one point here. Like, we can always have, I think, a month, every month, we can have a virtual party or something. Or if the organizations are working, there is not work from home, they can have a party or something. That also, I think, get a change in our lives and we get
Yeah.
a little happier that, okay, fine, today we don't have to work.
Yeah. So I think in the organization, this concept is called having town halls. So people have regular town halls where probably after the town hall they can relax. It usually happens on a Friday
Yeah.
or last, where if there's upcoming birthdays or anniversary, they have those celebrations. So it's not just about keeping that pressure, having meeting for the pressures and the deadlines. It's also for acknowledging how much people have accomplished, celebrating, making people feel good, and then probably giving them a well-deserved break. Yeah.
Okay. So, as you know, that work from home is still going on. So, there are a lot of people who are at work from home. So, how we can manage our life with the office also, as well as with the household world also, and it's not affecting our mental health, because initially there were stages where it was affecting our mental health, and we were getting irritated, frustrated. So, how we can work on that? Because it is saying that third wave will come soon.
Hmm.
So, how we can work on that?
So I think it's a very relevant question now because I don't see work from home getting over anytime soon. In fact, most of the organizations have made it, complete work from home for people if they feel like working from home because that saves on the time for transportation and other things. So a lot of organizations have acknowledged that. But I think the first thing that's important is to just not, you know, not procrastinate. Because usually I'll tell you what happens is you can do the same task in 10 minutes, but you end up doing it for 1 hour because you think you have that extra time. So, with this, I think I do a very relevant trick is that I try and plan my day after my work hours. So this ways, I know that I don't
Okay.
have the complete day just to work. When you don't plan that, you feel this can be extended to 1 hour, this can be extended to 2 hours, and so on and so forth. And then in the end, you just work for 12 hours and not 8 hours. So if you feel you have a work, you have a life, you know, like after work, you'll try to complete your work on time. So this is for every individual, not to procrastinate and delay the task, complete it on time so that you can have time for that balance. Then the second is looking out for any hobby that you want to pursue, taking a conscious step to work on your hobbies, to work on your learning and development, if you want to take out time for your family. So doing that consciously, probably over the weekends. Usually nowadays what people do, they feel so burnt out that they probably want to spend the entire Saturday sleeping. I also do that
I
most of the time,
agree.
but that's completely normal. But then not doing it on a regular basis, because then it becomes a very, you don't feel you have any life. You just feel you're working, and then you're reviving the energy again to work on a Monday. So, if you want work life balance, you should see that work comprises of one part of my life. There are other parts of my life also that are equally important, which could be your family, which could be your personal time, which could be time for self development, fun, happiness, spirituality, anything. So, there is a concept in psychology that we call the wheel of life. So, that wheel of life just tells us that work is just one part. There are a lot of other parts to the wheel, and you have to take out time for that as well. And then if you're feeling overworked, I think you can tell it. Most of the organizations also, I think they tend to give work and they expect people to complete it in their specific deadlines. If you're not able to do that, don't feel pressured. You can carry it over to another day. I think most of the people start feeling pressurized and feel कि नहीं मुझे आज ही complete करना है. That is not how it would usually happen. If you're going to office, you'd probably take it over to the next day. So that is also something that you can do even now. And I think eating good food, exercising, going for a walk is something that everybody knows, but sometimes it becomes difficult for us to actually follow these steps. So I think making that conscious effort is, I feel, very important. And having a social system also, people you can rant with, people you can discuss things with, people you connect apart from work also helps you to understand that yes, you have a life beyond work.
I agree to you. So, how to manage any employee who is facing mental health issue and how to support them during that time.
So I think there are two things here. First is that organization is taking steps to understand the early warning signs that people have, but I don't think that is done on a regular level. So this, the employee will have to probably reach out to the concerned person and let them know that there is something that they are dealing with. And it is not always, I would say, like you have a, you have a disorder to just say and then you need help. It could even be a early warning sign and you reach out to people and then that help is provided. And it could be to immediately say what you want. Like usually I see, a lot of employees, they tell the problem but they don't suggest the solution. So if you suggest the solution, maybe there is something that can be done about it. Because for an organization, also for a lot of organizations, I feel they don't have that kind of an awareness at the moment. So, we can't say probably they might give you a 1 day leave, or probably they might give you less work for a week, but you need more. So, just saying what you feel is happening to you, being very open and honest about it, and then also suggesting solutions is, I think, is very important so that you can get the possible help there. And on an organization level, I think they should immediately be providing a holistic support where not only the manager reduces the work, but maybe the co-workers can help, share the burden, take the work in hand so that the work is also not affected, plus the employee is getting help, just like you would do when a person has fever, when a person will have cold, or when a person would have any kind of physical illness.
Okay. So, I would want to ask you this, that as you know that if I don't know about India, but some outside India, either Singapore, it's US, anywhere, organizations do have this policy that they give a break when the client, when they understand that our employee is going through a mental health problem, a mental health issue, or is stressed up, they'll give him a break, go and take a break for 1 week or 2 weeks. So how we can develop that in India or in different organizations? Like with Manoshala, we have this thing that if they understand that okay, this therapist is not working at the moment, she is facing a lot of issues, they will give us a break. We do have that policy with here with Manoshala. But how we can develop with it with different organizations?
I think here I would like to address 2 points. First is, I think the some organizations will be very open and supportive to, giving these kind of facilities. But sometimes the situation is that, people use it to their advantage, but that's not actually the case. So, sometimes we have to understand from both the organization's point and from an individual point. If on a, on an organization level, a policy is created, then it becomes, the employee's ethical responsibility to use it, when it's actually needed. First. Second, I think if not an organization level, I feel on a managerial level this can be done, where if an individual really needs help, they can reach out to their respective managers or their co, suggest that this is the concern that they have and this is the kind of help that they need. And I'm sure this, you know this is something that will be resolved if actually, this come across as a concern. So I think this, if not an organization level, if people really want to start with this, they can do it on a managerial level. So I think that is the first step that people can do.
Okay. Thank you. So, this question also came from one of our audience only. Does talent development have a role in workplace mental health?
I think it helps you to feel that self development. If, probably there is learning and development happening in the organization, or even in the work that you're doing, you feel you're growing. It helps you to see that professional growth, helps you to feel motivated, and definitely. But I think even if that's not happening on an organization level, even on a personal level, if you feel, you are growing, you feel motivated, you feel inspired, you want to work harder. So I think that helps you to stay positive in the organization. helps you to continue your work with the pace that you're doing. And if that doesn't happen in the long run, yes, you might feel that probably I want to look out for options, or this is not working out for me. I'm just at a constant, I would say, pace, not learning anything new. So, yeah, this can probably help you to take a decision, I would say, whether you want to continue in the same organization, same industry, same field, or you want to switch. So, that's with that, it's an important decision maker. But if you don't address it too often, then it can lead to a stage of burnout. And then you might possibly not even know what is the reason, but you'll feel that burnout because, there is a constant line and you're not feeling anything challenging. But it could, I feel, depend on person to person. A person who's comfortable with that constant graph might not feel burned out. But if there is a person who constantly wants to grow, wants to learn new things, for them, if that is not happening, they can definitely feel a burnout and can then
Okay,
affect their mental health.
yeah. Okay, so one more question we got is like, if any employee is going through a mental health and they took a break, they went for a treatment, and when they come back, what are the strategies we should follow so that we can help them out? Like when we get to know this employee has come back from COVID or any other issue, we do have a little bit strategies which we plan to work. So what are those strategies for mental health?
So I think first is not giving them the same work, I would say work targets that you would usually. So escalating that stage with time, taking regular feedbacks for them if this is something that they're comfortable with, and setting a pace for them to grow is, I think, is very important. That's the first thing. Then the second thing is keeping a pulse check. So, you would regularly reach out as an employee, as a co-worker, as a manager, and ensure that, the employee is not having any problem with completing the targets. And usually it could happen that, before this, they were doing the same task at a lesser time period, but now it's taking them a little more time. So that is also completely fine. So I think accepting that there will be a slight change and it will take time, for people to come back to their normal stage. I think this is the most important thing that people should do. It'll never be okay, you're back after a 1 week break, now everything is normal. It takes time for things to get normal. Just like after, probably the pandemic gets better, we are getting back to our normal, lives, but it's still taking time. It is taking at a pace where, slowly we're just going out for drives. Then now we're going out to different places. Now slowly the schools are reopening. So it's happening at a pace. Similarly, for an individual, the pace at which they get normal, is something that we should be very cautious about. And I think it's even the employee, just acknowledging this and reaching out, taking frequent breaks. If feeling burnt out, then, just reaching out is also, I feel, very essential.
Okay. Thank you, Priyanka. So I would request audience if they have any question from us, they can ask. We do had a question here also. Yeah. So how not to relive our past when we feel we are stuck in the past?
Okay. So I think this is not something that is specifically related to the topic that we had. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think since it's a question, I would definitely like to answer. So I think we get stuck in the past where there is something that is unresolved. So I think it's not always important to, if you're probably feeling it again and again, like there is something from the past that is coming again and again, it probably requires your attention. So you giving that attention and resolving it, or probably understanding that this is something that cannot be resolved and moving past it is something that will be helpful. But just shoving it off, then it means it will come again. So I think if you're stuck in past, there is something that needs a solution or needs your attention. So give it your attention, deal with it, either come out of it or bring out a solution and then move ahead. But in most of the cases, it could, sometimes it could be a childhood trauma, something that we cannot completely deal with. So I think accepting that we've gone through something, but yeah, now wherever we are in a fine space. And I think that can be something that can be helpful for us to move ahead.
Yes. So thank you so much, Priyanka. I think audience don't have any questions for us. So I would really say thank you to you for coming up and discussing about how to maintain our mental health at workplace and why our mental health is important. So I'm really, really thankful to you. Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you so much, Tamanna, for having me here, and thank you so much everyone who joined for the session. In case you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us even after the session. We are there for each other to, just help and support. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Bye. Take care.
Bye. Goodbye.